whatever day this is, the 21st of November. We're all here. Robin's not here.
No, she's gonna join us, and it should be a little later.
Alright, what are we gonna do? Oh. Everyone have a chance to review the minutes? And if so, motions to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Both same sign. Sorry. The October 23 Port Authority financials, everybody got a chance to review those? Any questions or anything on those?
And my only question was where we landed on reseating on the possible reseating of the revolving loan fund. Have we had any update? I know there was some applications that had gone out. I just couldn't remember the last update on that. Or if there was one, or if I missed one.
So there sort of isn't one,
Yeah, it's okay.
yeah, at this point.
Okay.
I know there's some letters of interest that have been kind of, we're trying to get.
Wait,
that kind
what
of-
are we talking about? The revolving loan?
Yeah,
Applying to USDA.
Oh, yes,
Receive that.
okay,
yeah, and Dusty will,
Dusty will do an update on that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she'll talk about some of the challenges and then go that way,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
all right, so, financials, motion to approve.
I'll just note that it's showing us going into the negative wise. Tyler and I have talked about the Port Authority taking out another advanced loan from the city of Wabasha. In talking to Mike Bubani, our financial advisor, as now we know we are securing many grants. Brian and I were analyzing how the port might get reimbursed for a lot of the costs through the grants. And so we anticipate that that some of the costs will be able to get reimbursed that the Port Authority has expended. But specifically to the section 217D, we can't use money used to build the barge terminal to reimburse us for working out an agreement with the Army Corps. That I think will replenish the fund when we start operations. So it's showing us going into the negative. I think we should ask the city of Wabasha for another pre-award loan, but we should be able to pay everyone back in about a year and ourselves back. So we're still trying to continue to cash flow it, but at least we're securing funding, so. I'll work out with Tyler, maybe going to council for approval of another loan to the Port Authority. I think we just even did it, like, we were very nice to each other and did the 0% loan.
Where's the
So
money come from in the city side?
we have our reserve, Jeff. So we make sure we have enough cash and then he can do some projections about our financials to ensure we're not gonna be in a negative cash position, so. We'll work through those numbers before I present it to council. Otherwise, we could take out a mini loan on some of these costs. But as Mike Bubani pointed out, that would come with interest, so if we can borrow from the city, that's the cheapest for everybody. Otherwise, we can take out, I don't know what you call it, a micro loan, a micro loan with interest as we wait for our, the actual construction of our terminal to happen. Okay,
Any other discussion? Motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Got a first, got a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Post same sign. Invoices, Bowman Mink. This is all for. The design and EAW permitting
mhm.
for the barge terminal.
So since this is related to constructing the barge terminal, again, this is costs that we're tracking separately in that account that we're hoping to eventually pay back as we do the project, but for now we've got to pay bills.
Any questions with respect to the bill? Motion to approve paying it,
So moved.
give a second.
Second.
Got a first and second, any further discussion? No, they're big numbers. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right,
So if we go back just a bit. On our planning. Tyler, you've outlined $4,167 or something like that in legal costs for every month. I can't imagine it being that much, we're almost done with that thing. So I'm hoping that we can recover some of those costs. Cause that seems like 48,000 in the next year. For legal costs for the barge terminal, sounds like a lot.
yeah, I mean, I think all of our agreements are in order, you know, with the,
I got one in my inbox that Mike just worked on. But after that, that's the real estate purchase agreement with the Coners, so we can buy the land. After that's done, there should not be any more legal costs. So I can work with Tyler, once that bill comes in, then zero out the rest of that.
You know, give us a little better,
Yeah.
what funds we can expect to have.
talk a little bit more about that when we get to the. Terminal update. All right, new business, introduction of Dusty Liston from CETA,
Yes,
welcome.
thank you.
And I'm gonna introduce, Dusty for her. So, she's been with CETA for 3 years and, she retired from the US Marine Corps after 20 years of honorable active duty service in June of 2017. Since retiring, Dusty has worked for the city of St. Charles, Minnesota and, La Crescent Hoka Secondary School in La Crescent. And she holds a bachelor's in business management from Park University. And she grew up in the rural town of Ruthven, Minnesota, with a current population of 217 people and understands the needs of small town USA. And she knows Emily's brother.
And we're on high school together, and we didn't know that till we saw each other at the meeting. Immediately we knew it, but.
So,
Recognize your.
It's amazing, the world brought both of you to Wabasha. And then she enjoys spending time with her 2 children, working out, traveling and reading. And I guess I would also mention that she is working 1 day a week for us, 1 day a week for Winona County, 1 day a week for Lewiston, and 1 day a week for Goodview. And I asked her, that seems like a lot, and she said, no, I like it. So, and already she's brought some of her knowledge about what those other small communities are doing here, which I have found helpful, just to know what's going on, particularly Lewiston. I think they are building, by the way, an ambulance city hall. And what else is gonna be in that building?
Fire everything.
Fire everything, so we can ask what it costs them.
A lot of money.
Yes. But they're going in for bonding money to pay for that, so anyways. Thank you, Dusty, for being willing to take us on. Any comments how it's going so far, or?
I think that Wabasha has a lot of potential for the Port Authority and projects to take on, and there's a lot of exciting things happening. It's gonna keep me busy, that is for sure, and I like it, so, yeah.
And is it been going good so far to compartmentalize 4 different projects in your mind?
It is, I think because the experience I have in the other 3, 1 county and 2 small cities, it is helping me very much here.
Okay, great.
So, yes,
Welcome.
thank you.
I got a text from Caroline, I think, I don't know, first or second week you were here, it's like, oh my God, she's gotten so much done. There you go, so much approved. Next on the agenda is the Anderson House, so this is a withdrawal request from the prior agreement we had to fund them through our revolving loan. I don't know if anybody had an opportunity to take a look at these invoices, are they any discussion with them or anything?
To me, it's like what we were looking for.
Okay. Tyler just had a question on more detail for the Lowe's item, but we can,
We got it.
we got it, okay, okay. Alright, see ya.
Yeah, I think if we can
Great job.
bring the Anderson House back to the level it was operating at, that's what drew a lot of people to Wabasha. So I think that's a good thing.
I always identified it as the other anchor, you know, we've got the Eagle Center on one end and the Anderson House on the other, just gotta get that built back up, everything in between will. Kind of just follow suit.
Yeah, real progress if anyone's been in there.
Yeah, I mean, they
Yeah.
keep the lights on, it just looks like it's open.
Yeah. I went for breakfast last weekend. It was delicious. It was really good.
Food is very good.
I heard that, I know the mayor's been there on occasion as well, so.
They need to get open the restaurant. Yeah.
Fun fact, I went there when I was like 22, I came home on leave and I brought my mom there when you could rent cabs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Eased your way through the whole evening.
You can get a bucket of hot rocks, to put in the end of your bed.
A wrapped brick, and the brick was
Is that
wrapped,
the way-
was smeared in a mustard blend, and then it's heated, and then that's supposed to help clear your sinuses and make you feel sleep better at night. Too much about the episode. So that's that part. Oh. All right, so is everyone comfortable with this? I know there has been some discussion about, I think maybe for me, it might be nice to, get a tour and get kind of some of these things pointed out to me that I've done.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that would be good.
I'm remiss, I haven't been in there. I drive right by it, but I haven't been in there, so I need to do that, maybe so we can do something formally, a few of us. I think that might be a good idea, that might. Put some comfort in everybody's.
And we had breakfast there this weekend, it was really good.
Yeah.
Was.
Delicious.
Good deal. All right, any other discussion with respect to that? If not, motion to approve that disbursement.
I'll make the motion.
Got a first, got a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Close, same sign.
Tyler, is that something that I would come back and let Grant know that they were approved at this point and then? Yes,
Yeah,
okay,
and maybe just see if there's an opportunity to maybe go through it,
yep,
walk through, kind of point out some of the things they've updated and done.
sure, I'll organize that.
Housing update, received a letter of interest from Jamie Jurdish.
Judas.
Judish, Jamie Judish.
Robin, do you wanna do the update first and then I'll talk about the letter of interest and my updates too?
Yeah, if I can get through it without coughing. I am literally sicker than a dog, you guys. Oh my
Cool.
God.
How about I just do the update then, Robin? I'm sorry, I didn't know you were.
No,
sick.
it's okay. That's why I'm not there,
Okay.
but I've been in
Okay.
bed literally at 6 o'clock every night this week. And Kathy said, oh, at the meeting tonight, I'm like, oh no, that's why I'm not there. And I don't want to give you guys germs for darn sure. But yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, you go ahead, Caroline. That'd be great.
Okay. So on well, I guess a lot has happened. For starters, Jeff, Dusty, Wendy and I all went on a lot of touring of Bigelow Homes developments and other communities. And in particular, we were looking at private roads because there was maybe concern about them building a private road for their 13 townhomes in Eagles Basin. And what we learned was that private roads were standing up 10 years later. And we also learned that Bigelow Homes doesn't just have the split level model, which is what we've seen in Wabasha, but has done a variety of housing. And so I think next week we're having a meeting with them to go over their plat and their engineering for the 13 townhomes and answering staff questions. And then I think the goal is to send that on to approval for planning commission. And then Emily and I and Dave Woodley gave tours to Jamie Judish and his business partners of different sites in Wabasha and also Three Rivers Development. And where we landed with Jamie is kind of interested in everything, interested in Wabasha, and so we got that letter of interest. And then we learned that the old Mittelschule Old Mittelschule is an interesting project. It's probably a lot for somebody to take on, but we had some interesting tours with people and learned that the 1917 portion is vacant and very well maintained. So we're going to continue to try to bring developers to Wabasha with experience in historic rehab. And Three Rivers said we would be interested in any potential sites that if Bill Fitzgerald is willing to sell out near the school. They like that. They want to stick with the model that has worked for them, which is family apartments, instead of trying to do a senior project in Wabasha. So we learned that. And then Emily and Jeff also toured their family apartments in Lake City, and we're really impressed with the finishes and the fact that we learned we've already lost a family from Wabasha to those apartments. And so I have a phone call out to Bill Fitzgerald, who was sick, and he is gonna get in touch with me, and I'm gonna convene a meeting between him and Three Rivers. And so I'm just waiting for the call. And so if anyone sees Bill, have him call me. But I think he said kind of like, well, I can't promise anything, but I'm willing to sit down and talk about my property. So they did not, we took them to the Conner site out by the highway, I don't know what that was called, but they don't want to be close to a railroad. So that eliminated a lot of property in Wabasha if you don't want to be right next to a railroad, and I get it. And they didn't want to be in the floodplain. They were saying, like, for us to come in, we need that property built already out of the floodplain. So that's how all we could really think of for them was Bill Fitzgerald's property. But again, if anyone hears of anything else for sale that's not close to the railroad and not in the floodplain, and they're looking for 2 acres, that was why 2 acres. Please let me know, because I think they are interested. Their deadline is basically the end of this year to identify a site in Wabasha. So I don't know that we'll necessarily make that deadline. But if not, I think then they'd be looking for a
Would you ever
project.
talk to Dan Miller about that project or no?
Who?
Dan Miller?
What did we talk about?
I did.
He was interested, but
Yeah,
Oh, Robin, did you?
I have talked to him again recently about it, and he still says he'll sit down and talk about it.
well, that's a beautiful site.
I don't think he wants an apartment build. I can promise you he doesn't want an apartment building there.
Well, then that takes 3 Rivers out.
Yeah, he doesn't want that. He wants something that would be a move up from his campers. You know, kind of like their summer home in Wabasha, so more like the cottage homes type thing. And then they go to Florida or Arizona, wherever they go for the winter.
Got it.
Who was the other guy with us on the tour of the Judicious? What was his name?
Ben, call.
no,
That's right. Anyway, the other guy that came with on that developer tour, he asked about that property and eyed that up on his way into town. I explained what Robin had just shared with us, that we knew that he has, sort of.
Dan was approached. He was approached once very seriously, but they wanted to do solar field, and he said absolutely not. So he's going to be picky and choosy about what he would use it for. But when I was telling him about the standalone townhomes or that sort of something that would be senior, but you know, independent living, that's what he would be interested in.
Okay, well, that's good to know. And then, the other thing after feedback from the housing task force is I've asked Christy, our city planner, to develop more content on our website so that if our developer does wanna create a plat or needs a zoning amendment, there's more information online with checklists of here's what the process looks like, here's when meetings happen, here's what the fee is, here's my contact number, because right now if you go to wabasha.org, there's not much there. So I'm excited about that. It's a free way for us to kind of, again, respond to that housing study, which is kind of making it aware that we're friendly to developers and we want to see people interested in building here. And then on the Jamie Judas letter of interest, as you can see, it's a very general letter of interest. And so I think where there's interest is the connection that he could make for Wabasha to, what was it called? Rebound. Because they have some experience with historical renovation. So there's a December 6th maybe meeting. There's a future tour. No, that got canceled. We're waiting to hear about when they want to bring Rebound partners to Wabasha. We'll show them around. And then I have continued to work with Dusty to market our sites to developers. And I think there's a few more people that after maybe the Thanksgiving holiday or maybe even after Christmas, we'll get in touch. I think there's definitely interest from developers. So I kind of talked with Em and John that great letter, thanks. Let's be in touch, but we want to keep seeing what other interests or levers that we can get. So we're going to be like, you know, just thanks. We'll keep you on file, but I don't think we're going to make that a December deadline of applying for grants and stuff. I think 2024 is going to be the year of figuring out who's interested in working with us, and then maybe in the future, really looking at more details and deciding who we might be interested in partnering with on the site. So I don't know. I think Jamie's gonna give us a lot of good ideas, and I was excited when Dusty and I tried to do phone calls. People are interested in Wabasha, they just maybe hadn't thought of visiting us. So Robin helped me make a connection from Lake City, and I emailed him, and I'll probably follow up in a few weeks. Keller Bartman has done a number of developments. They're just busy finishing up one project. They're interested. And then she talked to someone that said, I'm really too busy, not now, but you know, keep the door open. So
Can you tell us more about Rebound?
You know Rebound, right?
No.
I don't know, yeah.
Rebound is a good they have several different kind of facets to their company, and one of them is historic building renovation and operation. So they were the ones who owned the Archer House in Northfield that burned down.
And one of them was one of the corner.
And and one in St. Paul and one in Des Moines. And they were very close to getting a deal done on the Anderson House before Yenters bought it.
Yeah,
So they're very familiar with Wabasha, in that respect.
so they're looking at commercial buildings is what they're mostly looking at.
I think they do commercial, but it sounds like they fund housing as well.
We were gonna take them to the old dental school.
Yeah, well,
You like saying that.
yeah. If you can't keep a straight face, you can't.
I told him, like, everyone's mispronouncing this building, it's the old middle school. He's like.
Well, you're correct, either way you say it. It's the old ones.
We're gonna take them over there, and then, I think I mentioned opportunity, why not show people the old dog mattress factory? And maybe
Absolutely.
make a connection in the future.
Just think if we can point to them some properties that could use some, you know, redevelopment investment, they would, I mean, there's a lot, so.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Somebody told us she would never sell. Was it Blaine?
I think so.
Was it
Maybe.
Forfeiture?
it wasn't tax foreclosure, and then we found out that sometimes how it got rescued from tax
She had,
foreclosure.
like, while we were inquiring, she was
Yeah,
making an arrangement.
right.
Then she's currently in a current agreement with the county on a repayment plan. So,
When the Anshin House was for sale again, and it was auctioned online, I reached out to Rebound, and they were very appreciative of that.
yeah,
And appreciative that we had a new bank in town, and, you know, new administration, so there's new administration, new energy around everything, so. We were really happy to call.
I think their nearest success, if you guys wanna see, property that they've done is the Celeste in St. Paul. I don't think we've been up
I've
there.
heard of it.
It is something else, an old convent that's been converted into public event space and hotel rooms. It's really something else.
Cool.
It really is. So. Yeah, I think it's just great that we've got. I mean, it's just a formal letter saying, hey, I'm interested in Waukesha, so I think we just keep it on file and keep pushing.
Yeah, I think we ought to make sure we, we're like fishing, we gotta
Right.
set the bait, we
Right.
gotta set the hook on some of these people, I don't think we should hesitate either. When someone makes a good. Option for us.
Right.
Yeah, there's so many updates, but I'm just looking if we missed anything. It says Kathy met with DBS, a large design build firm to discuss. Housing, so that's good, and then,
Yard Homes is still interested, very interested.
yeah, so what's going on with Yard Homes is they had looked at, and I was ready with a meeting with, here's our options. For the smaller East Main Street site. But Habitat was gonna develop the site and finance it, and now the executive director has stepped back. And
Right.
it sounds like the construction manager is not ready to pursue a brand new project till he kind of gets his bearings, and maybe they're waiting to hire a new executive director. So that's kind of, I think, on pause. But I think what we learned is that, what I learned is there are some small steps that the city could take to vacate the alley, combine the lot, that would require some costs that the city would bear to ask our engineer and planner to do that work. So I was trying to decide, do we just go ahead and start that work now without having a developer, so it's more ready when someone is interested in the site?
I think so. I mean, they're definitely interested. And can I give you guys a little, I think, important piece of information? I listed Vicki Johnson's house on Main Street, and it's been on the market for 2 or 3 days. I don't know. We have multiple offers, and that is a 1-bedroom house with a loft listed for $350,000 with a 1-car garage. And those Yard Homes houses were 2 beds, 2 baths, about the same square footage, and they could build them for $300,000.
Wow.
So there, and my phone has been ringing off the hook for this place. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a hot commodity.
And again, Wendy and Christie's analysis is we're in the best position if we acquire that upper parcel
Mhm.
on the market. And so, I thought maybe if there's funding out there, maybe the Port Authority could acquire it, but we'll kind of wait. So I'll look back
City.
with staff and said, at least from the Port Authority, there's definitely interest in taking steps to combine the lot now, because the alley is on its own right now, and yeah, so there's things that we could do.
Yeah, I think that's a absolutely a request to the council.
Okay,
Would everybody agree?
Yes,
We gotta have it ready.
no feet dragging.
Yeah,
okay.
we spent all this time on the housing committee. I mean, we need to make this happen.
Okay. Those are all the,
Can I
So I
ask?
have one little thing that's sort of housing committee related, but I actually have a manufacturer looking to come to Wabasha, which
Really?
they would hire approximately 100 employees. So they're gonna be in touch with you people at the city to get some more information. But it's pretty exciting.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Emily.
Two things related to the possibility of working with Three Rivers. I hope Rob can hear me. Kathy had urged us before we did these tours with Three Rivers to make a decision. Do we want senior housing or do we want workforce housing? And I said, well, we want both. But I think we heard loud and clear this a family property, workforce property for families is really the niche that Three Rivers has a handle on, which I'm happy about. This part of this seniors or families, came from the presentation that was given to the Southeast Minnesota tour that came through Wabasha. I hopped on that bus. So a rural sociologist named Ben Minchuk, and he said, you really want to make a space for those seniors because when they vacate their houses, then that's good for families. I agree with that. I certainly agree with that. I think the families that we're losing to places like, this is called Commonwealth, those are not folks that can maybe pull together a down payment. But we still want those kids in our district, we want those employees in our businesses.
Right.
But also, I think, a yard home property is probably can attract a senior or can
Agreed.
attract a single person or a couple. So I guess, I'd be willing to be, very vocal and excited and try to drum up that community support for a family building, just like the one that John asked for. I wanted to move in. It was.
Oh,
so nice.
it is. I went too. It was very nice.
Oh, I'm sorry, Robin,
It was-
because I didn't go, so I'm
Yeah,
glad
it
you
was-
sent it too, okay.
It was
one of the
very
features-
nice.
Yeah, one of the features of those properties is that they need to have, they call an assisted unit, somebody who can receive some services, and they would have like a man, they have management that assists with that. Emily Plants, who does the services at the building, I'm engaged her for like Project Community Connect. It's like somebody that I know, so, knowing that we could help a family or individual that needs that type of housing, to me, it's not a bad thing. It's good that that's a criteria. Those are things that definitely need to be wrapped into these projects. And so I had a meeting with the new superintendent, Nels Onstead, and described to him this beautiful project. And I said, we'd love for the school to be supportive. He said, absolutely. I urged that we were think about it being near the school, because for me as a parent, that would be a real plus to be so close.
That's a
to the
win,
school.
yeah.
Yeah, and he said, I agree, we love that. And so, he still remains very concerned about housing, just like Jim Fryhammer was, and wants to be helpful in helping us tell that story however we need to.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Robin, I have one question about, is it heavy industrial or is it light manufacturing?
I'll tell you what it is, and I can give you guys a lot of information. These, and I think I've talked a little bit about it before, but they decided to do it in Rochester. And just last week they called and said, okay, Robin, we're going to scratch Rochester. We want an outlying city. So where would you suggest? And of course I said, I think you should look at Wabasha first. So they're like, okay, let's look at it. But they are developing for a lack of a better word, they're like Lego blocks that they're literally building with. Okay, so they're supposed to be 7 times stronger than concrete. They have a factory in Florida. They had their ribbon cutting there last week. We actually were going to fly there, but I have been sick for a week. It's been miserable. So we had to cancel. But anyway, it's a crazy product, and I can send you guys all the link. And you can see, like, there was just a big news story on the factory that opened, but it's like wind resistant, weather resistant, easier to work with. They're color coded. They're basically, I say plastic, but they're a composite block. So they're easier to work with than a concrete block because they're lighter, but yet 7 times stronger. So it's cutting edge stuff. And it came to the United States from Turkey. And these guys started this plant in, the Miami area, and they've already built a couple of 7-story apartment buildings with it. So it's the real deal. And now they want to come to Minnesota. And the reason they want to come to Minnesota is because I found this very interesting. The only college in the United States that has a degree in composite engineering is Winona State University.
There you go.
Yeah, my husband's a graduate, so, yeah.
Was this Blaine's project that he was working on?
Yeah, he has that same kind of.
Well,
is that-
I did tell him about it. I don't think he knows the people. I don't know. I've been working with them for a long time, but I did tell Blaine about it because they also were involved in some solar, and so I kind of set him up with them about that, but yeah, probably.
If they come, more housing is, that's what it needs.
That's what the guy-
What do you need
Yeah.
first?
They need access to the railroad because they've got to ship these blocks, clearly.
That's why we get the Corps to give us the 20 acres that's been filled for the last 30 years.
Yep. Even if they could, even if they could lease it, I think they would be fine, but they just need access to the rail.
Well, that would be it, and I don't know what the Corps is planning on doing with it, but they were putting ground cover on it for the last 30 years, and haven't
Haven't
done
done it yet.
it. Could have built.
All right.
Very interesting. Yeah, send a link if you can, Robin.
I
That'd be
will.
real-
I'll send it, because I don't know everybody. I'll send it to Tyler and let him distribute it. How's that?
Perfect.
Sorry.
Well,
Ugh.
All right, so we good on the housing side?
mhm,
All right,
mhm,
what's
mhm,
next?
mhm.
What's next? Barge terminal update.
Okay. So, the barge terminal subcommittee is still Craig, Dave, John, and sometimes Emily. And, we got pushback from US Fish and Wildlife and Minnesota DNR on our environmental review. And Bolton and Mink is working on responses, and then our plan is going to be to share those comments and meet with them before we finalize our environmental review and find out if they're satisfied with their answers. So I asked Brian, it's like, we have one more time that we publish and get comments. So we want to know that they're satisfied, otherwise they could comment more and tell us, we still don't like your project, and then it's up to this body if you wanna say, we don't care, we're moving forward, we're satisfied with the environmental review. But the thing that the DNR has is we're gonna have to get a permit from them, so we definitely wanna satisfy their concerns. So their concerns were, generally speaking, just kind of making the argument that they thought that there may be, we're gonna have to dredge as part of the project, that's the big environmental impact, and they felt like there may be other ways that we could accomplish our sand moving goals without dredging as much or without building a barge terminal. So they worked with Chuck on preparing arguments about why we do need to do our plan. But we had a lot of good discussion, and we are all prepared to also attend these meetings when they're signed up for the agencies, so that they know that we don't want to harm the environment and we're gonna be good partners, etc. That's good. And then, Mike Clarity has prepared a real estate purchase agreement for the Port Authority to purchase land from the Coners. And we were just debating if we could offer the Coners an opportunity to buy back this land should the project not move forward, and decided that I suggested, let's just keep that out of there, and if they counter and say, no, we want, I mean, it doesn't look like we're backing out of this, in my opinion, so it's kind of like, I just said, don't worry about that. So I have to review it, and then we'll probably give it to the Coners, and like I said, that's the last piece of legal. And then, of course, y'all heard the good news about the $2.5 million grant, so I've already heard from Department of Transportation, and I have to do another environmental review for them. I have to post about our human rights practices. It's gonna be a lot. So where we're at with that is just, there was 10 people on this list that are working on different things. So I'm trying to organize meetings with people. They said it could take up to a year before we get a grant agreement for them to check all their boxes. So the federal grant will probably delay the project a little bit, but we have a plan to start moving sand off the islands without any infrastructure built. The Coners have a plan to lease some equipment, and we'll be good to go for this year. So, I think that's good. I mean, it kind of sucked for it to delay it a year, but I think when Brian and I did the numbers, we are depending on what cost they count, looking at the local share being somewhere between 130,000 or up to 630,000 of costs that we would be responsible for out of a $4.5 million project. So it's kind of worth it, but, the
So
other,
I've looked at a lot of environmental impact statements and the comments from them, so this was about 100-page DEIS.
Mhm,
And we got 20 comments from Fish and Wildlife, and then the other comments kind of echoed what Fish and Wildlife said.
okay, thanks,
I didn't see any poison pill in there, I didn't see anything that's gonna,
okay,
really gonna be hard to overcome, but that's kind of typical. They're gonna go through and nitpick those documents. And so you gotta expect that, and then you have to reply, and you have to come back with a good reply, so I think Brian's got the right attitude, is that this isn't a stab in the back, we're not gonna, this is easy, not easy, but this is overcomable, so we just need to respond and keep on it.
Yeah, I didn't see anything crazy.
No, because all the agencies exercising the authority that they have.
Yeah,
They gotta do that.
yeah,
And I think we can answer all those questions. I think the weirdest one was, for me, was the lot line of who owned the island, and
Well, I
There's
think
some-
they do.
I mean, it was just kind of, I mean, otherwise it was all pretty straightforward stuff.
How are we doing on the winter haul?
okay, good question. Tomorrow okay, do you guys wanna know all the boring details? I'm
Yeah.
keeping everyone engaged. Okay, so the real estate office of the Army Corps sent us a revised agreement that is the agreement that basically is putting the Port Authority as we're the lessor of the Wabasha gravel pit now to allow us access to that site to move sand, and we're gonna be the lessor of the lessee. I get confused. We're gonna lease out the islands too. So the real estate agreement put a bunch of new additional requirements that weren't there back in May when I saw the first draft. So I did push back on that and just said, I don't see that these extra restrictions are required, and it weren't in the original draft. So they accepted that and took those extra things out that weren't there before, but apparently may have ruffled feathers. This is all. Whatever. But anyways, I just wanna be careful about what I'm committing to being in charge of, because you probably know this, like, I have to monitor all these things if we keep getting more and more in there. So it was basically that the Coners would have had to offer sick leave to their employees, and then there was a complaint process if they weren't doing it. I mean, conceptually, I support it, but it was something that then I was monitoring Coners for sick leave, and so push back on that, and that's good. Tomorrow, I'm meeting Paul out at the Wabasha gravel pit, and we're doing an inspection to assure that there's no environmental contamination at present time of the Wabasha gravel pit. And then I'm assuming once the Coners are done hauling, there'll be another inspection to make sure that the Coners didn't dump oil or make it a landfill or something like that. So
I'm gonna be there with you.
just me, and Paul, we're doing the checklist together, so. I told the Coners, I don't think you need to be there because, it's just making sure there's no issues, And then Sean is planning for a December 1st winter haul.
Okay.
But Paul is waiting on approval from his real estate office, so. So I think the port may start making some money just doing the winter haul this winter, if we can get going, which was the goal, to start, getting some income, but it's making its way through Army Corps processes, I guess.
You actually know the spot where they're gonna haul out of? Is it on the far west end or out of the existing haul area now? Where they have the last two hauls, they
Yeah,
haul out of the middle. I don't know what their plan is here.
okay,
It would involve the truck route or
yeah,
roads
it's,
to get to.
it's
I
it's
thought
off
it
of
was
Fifth
more
Branch.
towards the beat field, I thought.
Here, I'm just gonna pass my phone around and that's where we're gonna meet, so.
Oh, okay. So little
Um,
drive-in they got.
That's on the new 59.
Yeah.
And it's just right off the road too. So it is more in the middle, there's where they were hauling.
Yeah,
out. So that's the county road 10 that comes, and
Oh, and the other thing is,
that's a good spot.
Sean got a copy, the city has to approve a traffic generator permit. So I'm a little bit, I need to follow up with Sean, he got a copy of the permit from Christie in planning. And he's gonna apply on our behalf, but I think because of all that truck hauling that's
Yeah, it's
created.
major
there's a
traffic
permit.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
It's a IUP or whatever.
Yeah.
No big deal.
So I will just ask Sean, hey, where are you at with that application? Hey, everyone's still with me.
Oh, yeah.
I feel funny talking about this, but that's why I love the job, right?
Yeah, well,
All right,
Who knew you'd be talking about Barney's? In your history, in your
yeah,
professional career?
yeah.
So I got a call, and this is, it's fodder at this point, but, apparently there's a sunken wooden barge. So some of those areas where you can kind of see the two rock piles, you have the island that kind of comes down and there's two kind of rock piles. Off of one of those rock piles, kind of heading more into the main channel. Is a 100-foot by 40-foot old wooden barge. That they sank, and looking at you because you're the only one that's been here long enough to maybe even have heard of this.
not me.
And,
I hope to God it's not historic.
I can't touch it.
I'm like, I think this all in going,
Yeah.
okay. And so I don't know, I mean, the question and. The question was, how are they gonna get those tows in? How many at once? Because it's reasonable that. At least the upriver corner of that or whatever is gonna have to be taken out as part of the dredge process.
They've done it once before, maybe, you know.
And that's what I
So
said,
they would have ran into it then.
that's what I said, but apparently, the guys with cameras and stuff.
I never heard even no rumor on this.
Yeah, so there's, and it had something to do with. Being able to drive out there to pick up, like when the original dredge was happening. So they were mechanically, dredging the river at that point, and they would drive out there on the barge and then come back out. But, and they just sat there and they sunk it. Scuttled.
I don't know.
So, that was in 1930 or whatever, so, but it's there.
Big archaeologist on this map.
Yeah, right, anyway,
But I
but
mean,
we did the historical part of the EIS and we went from there, so.
everything's moving along, we're making more progress than ever before.
Yep.
It's just, it'll be nice if we can do the winter haul and figure out how this is gonna work exactly, so. I know they were mentioning, hey, we gotta kind of figure out how we're gonna pay you and things like that, so. Hey,
That's a great barge terminal update, one of the
Okay.
best we've had in a long time.
yes, yeah,
That's pretty awesome. All right, let's move on, coordinators report.
Sure, so it was in the agenda package, so, I'm thinking everyone had a chance to look over the coordinators report. Broke it down by day, hour, I'm here every Tuesday, I'm available anytime, it doesn't matter what day of the week it is, I work from home on Friday and do a lot of catch-up work. So feel free to call or email on any day of the week if you need anything from me. So I put the revolving loan fund, the replenishment of that as a priority, if you could see that on this report, also business consulting. Retention, expansion, attraction, part of that responsibility, it seems to be with the chamber right here in Wabasha, but that's also a huge part of the Port Authority, is working with small businesses and local businesses, so I'm working on that. I have started a business contact spreadsheet. I visited 2 businesses so far, which is the Urban Arrow and in the workforce development. Gave them my card and just let them know I was in town, and if there's anything we can collaborate on, or if they need anything to let me know. Going to the roundtable discussion with the chamber, hopefully, those invitations will come out to kind of get involved with the small businesses. That's about it. I can go over what I've accomplished so far, but I need the port to approve this work plan. So we have the same expectations when I'm here every Tuesday. And then I am following the direction of what you guys want and need for the city.
One question that's come up was if you think it's viable to replenish the revolving loan fund this year and get the application done.
Yep, so I spoke with Ben and, Ben doesn't think it is viable. The application opens, December next month. He doesn't believe that we have enough letter of support or interest that went out. One of them would have been a chocolate escape he spoke about, but they are pretty much done with what they need to do. He does think for 2024, we can get enough with the Anderson House taking most of the revolving loan fund up. I do know Chuck at the USDA, that's the program that we're looking in, so, I am asking if you want for me to try and make that a priority for the rest of the year, or if we should focus on it for 2024. I think that we should focus on it for 2024, only because I just started to get to know. I only know 2 businesses so far, and that's a big part of getting letters of support and interest, to know that if we got that money, they would actually use it. Another suggestion would be to start charging that interest rate to get the port some money. That would be important for me. That's part of the big program. Something to think about for next year. Yeah, so I'm asking to table it for 2024. That way the application is strong and I get enough businesses on board for that right now. And also start charging an interest rate for next year.
Has the bank got any inquiries where you thought, oh, I wish we had a revolving loan right now?
Just had one that I know of that would have been a strong candidate, but then the purchase agreement that they were trying to attain kind of fell through anyways, but they would have been somebody in that moment that could have, we wouldn't have been able to qualify for the amount they would have needed to kind of do like a bridge loan for a down payment,
Kind of gap.
and it wouldn't have been fundable had she needed to apply in that scenario. So that was like $20,000, similar to like what we did for Cassie Majeski with her purchasing her daycare. Would have been a purchase of a downtown business where they would have served, it would have been a restaurant.
Yeah. I can think of a couple like small renovation loans that people have talked to us about. But market rates are just too high from where they're at, so. But yeah, to your interest rate point, I mean, when we lowered it to 0, like prime was like at 3.5 or 4 or whatever, now it's 8.5. And some of the loans I mean, like Jesse's loan, that was a prime loan, I think at the time, or prime +1 or something like that. Jesse's auto loan that was on there. So it wasn't too long ago that we were charging an interest rate, so.
Yeah.
But we can certainly make it favorable and less than market to help out. But yeah, I mean, I guess with letters of support, I mean, is there like a timeline on it? Like, I know that if this fund is there, that I'm gonna do this project in the next 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, or is that kind of what USDA is looking for?
They just want to know that there's going to be enough interest, and that if this money is given to the port, that it's going to be used and not just sit there.
Okay.
What's considered enough?
Ben was saying 5 applications or 5. There were
5
4
letters, like 20,000 each, right?
Yeah.
Just
Have it.
upgrading or?
Upgrading, yeah, gap loan.
Non-cemented.
I think there would be, especially with.
Yeah.
Non-cemented, but the Anderson House would probably take up the majority of it again, I would assume.
Yeah, and there's rules about, expansion and creating jobs
Yeah,
for more employees.
Yeah.
So you can't really do it for a maintenance loan or a,
No,
So roofs,
like we're gonna,
yeah, we talked about that.
yeah. So,
There's. And so and we go back to this, that the big project, right? If someone walked in here with a big project. The fish factory is one of them. There's other ways that we could facilitate, getting some money for them, isn't there? I mean,
Indeed, it's what we heard.
yeah. So I mean, it's not like if we would be missing out on a big deal by not having this, right?
yeah, cause there's other avenues through USDA besides the revolving loan
Right.
funds that we could try and tap into for something like that.
CETA offers a revolving micro enterprise loan fund.
Yeah.
And the interest rate is 6% for them right now, flat rate. So there are other avenues, but that's a huge part, I think, of an EDA in a port is having a facade improvement program, which we'll talk about later, and a revolving loan fund.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think?
What kind of interest rates are you thinking, Tom?
Well, usually they are at prime or 1% below,
What's prime?
8.5.
How?
But even like at Winona County, they're having a hard time with people taking out the revolving. loan fund.
Even if we could keep them at 5%, people would be getting a great deal.
Yes,
Yeah,
So the award kind of comes out at the beginning of the year and the anticipation is we use it within that year. So $20,000,
18 months actually.
18 months, so theoretically $20,000 loans. At 5%.
What's the minimum request? That you can make?
I don't know that. I should know that, but I don't know the
Yeah, I
minimum that we request, so
Okay,
I can look that up. I just don't know at this point, unless you know, as a port, if we have enough people that would utilize that, and also time to submit this application.
I don't think we know if we have enough. I mean, we would have to drum it up and all that stuff. So, I mean, we don't have people banging down the door right now, so.
And part of my job is to do outreach to businesses, and I've just started here, and
Yeah.
so it's hard to get to know some of these folks and their needs and wants this early in the game.
my only recommendation is to also include Kellogg in it, even though we don't represent Kellogg, it would allow you to just expand the boundaries. That kind of came up in the HVAC grant program, Lark Toys and Front Porch are both in Kellogg, and so it would help us get money out the door, even though we're not paying anything for it. But yeah, when I hear Dusty, like she has to build those relationships, it's unfortunate we couldn't do this under Ben's tenure. But that's where we're at.
I think it's obviously we have to put this off till 2024. I mean, we have 5 weeks left this year. It doesn't even make sense to try to replenish it for 2023.
But I think we definitely want to get it back. It's been a pretty
Yeah.
high priority for everyone, so.
Mhm.
And I think when I would be meeting with businesses, I would just ask them, could you accomplish your project with 5% loan? And you could kind of feel people out what's gonna be competitive. I'm always of the opinion, I'd rather it be on the streets than be super concerned with what we're charging everyone. I agree, it could definitely go up from 0. But I would rather get it out on the street than be waiting around for someone that can pay 8% or something like that. So what I saw, Dusty, is like communities just held on to their legacy interest rate, even as the other interest rates were moving up and down. So if communities just held on to that high interest rate when interest rates were low, people were like, well, why would I use this program? So, yeah, but now definitely we're probably an outlier in how low it is compared to now. Yeah.
So I think the consensus is we're not gonna try to pursue refunding that at this point. We'll work on that for next year.
Sounds good.
Do you
The
want to share with the group your thoughts on the facade grant program that you were sharing with me?
I do, so, like I said, I think it's so important, the facade improvement program. I visited Curb and Arrow today and I said, well, what do you need? And they said, we need signage. So facade improvement, it's a grant, it'd be 50-50 match, so they would have to put up 50, you know. The port would pay for 50, but it allows for updated signage or, updated improvements to their buildings. And so it's so important because, so let's see, Goodview, I think we had 5 or 6 applications just this year. Lewiston, I think we had 6. And it just builds a good relationship with business owners and the port. And it's something different that the chamber is not doing. And so it could market the port, you know what I mean?
Right.
All that good stuff. It would get a really good, word out there. So I would like to put that on the table for 2024 as well.
These building facades, so you're,
Yep, commercial and industrial building facades, signage, and just improvements to the outside, visible to the public.
how did the port get, yeah,
Plus, it makes sense, you're polishing up the community, you're updating signs that maybe they couldn't afford to do on their own. You know, on that, it's that chicken and egg thing, right?
so we don't have a building that is, you're updating signs is what you're saying? I'm just trying to understand this a little bit.
So as an example, Herb and Arrow's sign is, you know, something that, you know, Nosh put together when they
Yeah,
were there,
yeah.
and it's not great, right? So we have a Heritage Preservation Commission as well that to work through, but that being said, they can really have an improved sign. But they currently maybe can't afford it, they can afford some of it, so we would
Yeah.
match that.
I can understand the buildings.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, we do have the historic downtown, so. You have to play with that a little bit because
It's okay, our sign work, when he works with people and
They figure out how to make it
help
happen.
them to present to us with something that.
Yeah, we draw traffic, you know, it makes it look prettier, it's just a
Right.
good relationship
Yeah, put
building.
the neon sign downtown.
Oh, that, the sign work
No.
covers that.
Yeah,
We don't even really deal with that because when he brings us an application that meets the ordinance.
I've
Yeah,
seen
matches
people use it for like top pointing on, we need a facade. Yeah, city blocks. You know, just fixing up brickwork on the exterior, and I think where it's different is that it improves, like someone drives to Wabasha and it's just gonna make
Look sharper. looks better.
Wabasha look sharper and it helps with-
Practicalities, no one's offering it, you know, and everyone says grants and.
She said it's traditionally been funded by ultimately taxpayer dollars, and I said, we're promising a lot of our Army Corps fees, but that's why we're doing this thing with the Army Corps, is hopefully gain funding for the port. She thought we could start with maybe 10,000, I thought maybe we could match it with some grants. So our goal is to try to figure out $10,000, which is kind of how small we started with the childcare grants and found that to be successful. So I also, I don't know, Tyler and I know where the cobwebs in the budget are, they're not really there, but I think this could be, I'm supportive, Tyler is too, so. We just thought, let's take 2024 to build a case study, maybe she could design the program like you did for childcare, like if the guideline's ready to go, and then you can kind of start marketing it to. Fund it and talk to council about it as well, but.
Well, under your direction today, I reached out to Smith for the small
Okay.
town grant opening up in the summer of 2024. I don't know.
Tyler and I were at a Rotary meeting and learned that actually Rotary has some economic development goals. I don't know if they're only for developing countries or they would consider it for a small rural community. And we learned that they can apply for up to maybe $3,000 a year from the Rotary Foundation, so. I mean. I don't know, so I think if she designs the program, as we learned with the childcare, sometimes you just have to put the idea out there and start shopping it around. And then I thought, get some feedback from you all, if this sounds exciting or not, I guess. So,
I like it. Anybody else, got a position on it?
I think it's a good program from the way it sounds.
Yeah. I think it's worth some time,
Okay.
put something together,
Okay.
all right?
Yeah.
The one thing we do have to do as well is we have to move to approve this,
Oh,
or this different plan. So, everybody had an opportunity to review it.
Yeah, I was wondering, we used to have. Commercial development down there, and I see there are a couple of buildings that say mixed use. So that. It looks a little smaller than what we had originally thought.
Yeah,
So that it'd be nice if we could have commercial development downtown, get rid of the buildings that aren't being used or utilize the buildings that are vacant. But this is a commercial area. It's been that way.
well, it's highway commercial.
Yeah.
Will,
Oh, no, 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 yeah, no, we talk about the work plan or we're talking this.
I'll just say-
oh, I like talking about-
If it's a waiver, it is.
I had it.
Do you ever, her work plan here? Okay,
Here, that's not,
okay,
that's not, that's what we're trying
try
to
to take a look at that.
Okay,
I will say one quick thing, so there's now location 1 on the city's website under, commercial and building, commercial and industrial, like inventory for sale or lease. And that's a state funded program that's free and it's statewide, it's through Minnesota Deed, so that is up. I just need to populate the information, and so when people come to Robin for like light manufacturing, she can just give them the website and they can see all the information about these buildings or land for sale or lease. Commercial, and it's super simple, it's a one place for a bunch of information.
So it's up on the screen there, but it's not yet populated, but her and I are also gonna put all of our letters of interest for our sites in this. And, cause we were talking about, well, we wish we could get it on the MLS. This is not quite the MLS, but we don't have it, but it'll, once it's done, she'll show it to you, and then when she finds out about sites from a private person that are available for commercial development, she can put it in here, so.
Really
Yeah.
neat because you can also print out a brochure automatically once the information is populated. It's like a one pager, like a flyer with just information about the building or the land, acreage. No one ever really puts the price on there because we all know how that goes. And like contact information, and it's really a neat tool. That's on the website. I put that on today.
Sounds good to me.
Okay,
Right, so we need to adopt this work plan.
Make a motion to adopt.
I'll second. Got a first and a second for Dusty's work plan. Any more comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Post same sign. There you go. Is that it? Oh,
I
other
just wanna make
capital
it-
mission tour. Roger.
okay,
Now,
Craig, what are your comments on this? Does everyone have a copy, or can you?
originally, we had the commercial development area that was, it looked larger than this, so I'm just wondering. Do we have enough room for commercial development? Do we plan, do we think we're gonna get more commercial development in this area?
And what are your thoughts on that?
I guess we're just trying to, the purpose of this one pager is for the legislators, not
Yeah.
developers. So I think we're just trying to keep it in their mind as kind of essentially infrastructure.
yeah, what do you do with it
projects.
after?
That's when we
There's
start
supposed to be a big
to be-
retention fund in there too.
Specifically, we just-
Yeah.
It's already been told that we're gonna have to build.
So,
So I didn't
But-
put it that way.
I think, we think the best area for commercial is probably next to Wabasha Fresh Market, the mosquito field,
that was always on the plan.
but it needs also a lot of fill. So my opinion is, start there, that's showing the commercial there. Is that on there? Yeah.
Yeah, it said mixed use down.
Yeah, no commercial,
But
yeah.
that was, I got,
Yeah.
originally was something like that, but this is just a preliminary then.
Yeah. Yeah. So the announcement is that, on November 30th at 11:15 a.m. Mayor Duran and John Friedmeier are gonna board a bus and give people this and take them on a bus through the athletic field. Then they're going to the Eagle Center, so if any of you are available and can escape from work and just, shake hands and meet them, then they're going to the Eagle Center, the
Okay.
Senate Capital Committee, to look at their
What is it?
bonding investment.
Thursday.
Yeah. So I will send all of you that invitation by email, so I'm assuming plan on 11:45, but they could be late or they could be early. And then the other request that I have of everybody is this realignment project is currently in a congressional request. So I was gonna create a little bit of a paragraph and just ask that people could reach out to Senator Klobuchar, Senator Smith, Congressman Finstad, and just say, please support this. So we hopefully will know by the end of December if our project made it. And that is for 5 million. And then we were talking today, if we can secure that, we think our state bonding request would be extremely strong. And so, and John and I met on just a advocacy or lobbying plan for this without actually spending money on lobbyists. And we heard that Peter Coyle is willing to give us some advice on this. And we'd like to send Jeff, John, and Em back to the Capitol and kind of meet with the same group of people that they did last year to drum up support for the project. So if anyone has any connections to state legislatures, let us know. Otherwise, I think, again, and for the month of December, I'll just give you like a little paragraph, if you don't mind just sending that on and just expressing support for this project. I was excited to see it in the PDF on the Senate Appropriations Committee, thing. So I did see Wabasha in there for 5 million, but it's got to make it through the final round of Congress this December. So, kind of show of hands, is everyone comfortable doing that? Not comfortable. Okay. All right.
Where are we
All right.
comfortable?
Sending a note to the legislature saying why you think this project's important
And
and
you'll provide an email.
State,
Both
state
the
legislature.
US,
US
US.
both the legislators and their staff.
instead.
More.
Yeah.
didn't we already do that a little bit?
Yeah, 'cause I
Yeah.
reached out to Finstead and his staff got back to me, said, yeah, he was gonna support it.
Oh, great.
Great, okay, so.
All right, well, I just thought maybe it's just like, did we know that we had it in there? Yeah, I think it's just like, hey, hope we could, or I'll come up with something. We thought of updating people with where we're at with the athletic field and maybe, just say, hey, the athletic field's done, it's been moved, we're really looking, I don't know, we'll come up with something. Just to kind of just,
I got a picture of the car crashing.
And also just thanking them for being in the community, because I think everybody's been here very recently, except Tina Smith herself. If she's been here, she may have been, but Gene Hoppy's been here and Brad Finstead was here.
Yeah.
And his staff was just here, and then he had a, sort of a meet and greet to help people in the county, so they've been here and just. They appreciate it when we acknowledge that they've been here.
yeah, maybe it's more of a thank you letter, like, looking forward to your support for this in December. Thanks for getting our bill this far,
Yep.
something like that. Okay.
That's good.
I didn't we, like, when Tina Smith and Klobuchar, when they said that they'd got it into the appropriations bill or something like that, we sent something then,
Great.
Mhm.
makes sense?
Yeah,
But I mean, who knows, but
You got some talking points you can send around?
yes, she will.
I'll include something about the athletic field. That's relatively new that we finished it. And then nothing else has happened. I guess we've secured the Army Corps project, so now there's an avenue for filling that with sand, so, yeah.
I saw Brad Finstad's rep. The first week I was here in Wabasha, he was coming on our revenue.
Oh,
Yeah.
Aaron, ever heard?
Okay.
That might have been the week of the Field of Dreams where they, where they harvested all the crops up there. Because I know he's there for that.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Keep our fingers crossed for December. Last time, I can't remember how far we made it, that's the problem. Angie Craig got us in the bill once before, but we didn't make it.
Well, we should thank her again.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's all I've got.
And with that, Move to adjourn,
I move.
got a first?
Second.
First and a second, for a move to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Both same sign.